Well, welcome everyone to today's webinar at St. Ben's and St. John's. We're going to be covering, as the slide says here, your award letters that you received from St. Ben's and St. John's, and trying to help you interpret the numbers and some of the items and descriptions that you'll see on your award letters. Coincidentally, this year, I'm kind of taking this journey with you as my twins are seniors in high school, and similar to your high school seniors, they're keeping the post office hopping. So this year I can kind of truly empathize with the families that we're working with and navigating the financial aid and admission processes at the various colleges that our children are looking at. It can be a lot of work and almost a full-time job. If your kids are like mine, bringing up the college decision issue yet again, it must be done carefully, judiciously, and not too often. They seem to sense when the conversation's headed that way. So today we're going to bring up the agenda actually and take a look at what the plan is. We're going to make a quick mention of the fact that you can still apply for financial aid if you haven't yet, and then we're going to get into the meat of the webinar, looking at an award letter, breaking it down, some of the cost and aid, breaking them down by semester. We'll talk about some additional financing loan options and some common questions that we get from families and provide some answers. And then wrap up with our form that some families might use for reporting special circumstances. As I said, you can still apply for financial aid if you haven't already. We have a previous webinar that we did on the financial aid application process where we talked in a little bit more detail about the FAFSA and what happens after you file the FAFSA, and a little bit more detail about different types of aid. So check out that webinar if you want some more detail and instructions about the FAFSA. If you've not yet filed it, as I said, you can still do so, and we'll review those FAFSAs as they come in and get an award letter out to you. In this webinar today is primarily focused on those families who have received an award letter and asking the question, like I ask when I meet with families, is what is the family financial responsibility? What is left after financial aid? And how do I arrive at that? Well, the basic formula for determining your family financial responsibility is, what are the charges? What are the costs? And how do we, and then we got to subtract financial aid from that to wind up calculating what the remainder is. What charges are we talking about here? And this is spelled out on your award letter, but the main charges that students will face include those listed here: tuition, which is the bulk, the biggest charge. Standard fees, there's 3 fees that each school charges for that are mandatory, charged to everyone, and then a housing and food plan. Now we know you're going to have other costs like those listed here, textbooks and some personal expenses. We don't bill you for those, so we're not going to factor those into the math today, but we do recognize that you have those costs. So those are the charges, tuition fees, room and board, those are the big ones. And then what financial aid do we count? Well, scholarship and grant aid that's what we all consider a gift aid, money that does not have to be repaid. So that's going to be counted in the financial aid piece. And then student loans and student employment. Now, loans can be applied obviously to your charges, but they have to be repaid. So they do reduce the balance, and we do typically show families and talk to families about how those loans reduce the balance, but it is something that has to be repaid. Student employment we'll go into a little bit more detail later, but that's like a part-time job on campus. So it can be factored into the calculation, but keep in mind that student employment doesn't get applied to the bill right away early on, like scholarships, grants, and loans do. Student employment, or work study as it's called as well, that has to be earned by the student over the course of a academic year. So again, just to recap, we're talking about tuition fees, room and board as the main cost, and then subtracting out financial aid, primarily early on, scholarships, grants, and loans that the student plans to accept. I'm going to let Robert talk a little bit about this screen. It has a little snapshot of an award letter.
Thanks, Stuart. So when you receive your financial aid offer from St. Ben's and St. John's, the first thing, it's going to come in a clear envelope. that's going to say investing in your future. And inside the packet, it's going to have some important information regarding financial aid in general. Inside the envelope, it's going to have the award notification, which you're seeing kind of a copy of on the screen right now. So in the packet, basically it's going to have your son or daughter's name on there, and it's going to list the different costs that we have at St. Ben's and St. John's. So you're going to see our tuition and fees listed, our room and our food costs, and a total billable cost. So those are the charges that you're actually going to get billed twice a year, once in July for the fall, once in December for the spring. So the financial aid that you're also seeing listed on this award, this is broken down. What you are seeing is the award for the entire academic year. And in a little bit, we'll show you a breakdown of the award per semester. But again, so in this person's award notification, you are seeing that the student has an academic scholarship, a St. Ben's grant, a federal loan. So just to kind of go over some of that a little bit with you, the academic scholarships range from $16,000 to $33,000. So when your son or daughter applied for admission and received their acceptance letter to St. Ben's or St. John's, along with that, there should have been a letter that said what their academic scholarship was. And so that particular award is renewable for 4 years as long as the student maintains a 2.0 cumulative and is making satisfactory academic progress. So that particular award, like I said, is going to carry forward. A common question that does come up sometimes: can my son or daughter have an academic award increased or decreased, or increased mainly over their 4 years because they're doing much better in college than they did in high school? The answer to that is no. The academic scholarship is set for a 4-year time frame. So it is a dollar amount you can count on each academic year. The St. Ben's grant, so in this particular copy of an award notification, you're seeing the student was qualified for a St. Ben's grant for $7,000. So $3,500 per semester. So based on the FAFSA information that we received at our schools, it was determined after the academic award that the student had a need for additional financial assistance. So you are seeing the St. Ben's grant listed. When you apply for financial aid through our colleges, you are applying for all federal aid, all state aid, and additional St. Ben's or St. John's aid. So if this student happened to be from Minnesota, they did not qualify for Minnesota State grant. They did not qualify for the federal Pell Grant. If they had, those would have been listed as well on the award notification. So in this person's individual award, they have an academic award, they have a St. Ben's grant. All of our students who file a FAFSA are going to be eligible for federal loan. So in some cases, you may not see this breakdown of the $3,500 subsidized and the $2,000 unsub. You may be seeing all $5,500 in an unsubsidized loan. If you are seeing that, that basically means based on the FAFSA data and after the merit scholarships were listed, according to the estimated family contribution from the FAFSA, it didn't determine the family had need for the subsidized portion. The difference between these, subsidized means the government's paying the interest on that while the student is in school. The unsubsidized, they are not. The student goes into repayment 6 months after graduation. So the interest rate is the same on a sub or an unsub loan. So sometimes people are like, well, I'm not sure. They're thinking that the interest rate is different. No, the interest rate is the same on the subsidized or the unsubsidized. When the student makes the application is for both of these awards. What will happen is if your son or daughter is coming to St. Ben's or St. John's, usually in early June, they will receive emails from our office that will give them instructions on how they go in to their Banner account and accept the loan or decline the loan. Once they accept it, they will have to do a master prom note and an entrance counseling to secure the loan. They do that as a first-year student. As a sophomore, junior, and senior, they will not need to do that. They will just need to go in their award year on an annual basis and either accept or decline the amount of loan listed. As Stuart said, when you kind of go up a little bit and you see the estimated additional costs, those are costs that are figured into the cost of attendance, but they are not billable costs. Books and supplies around $1,500 per semester. Travel expenses on this particular student, you're seeing $400. Those are going to be different for some families. If you're a student from California, the travel expenses may show $1,200, not $400. So depending on what part of the United States you are living in, the travel expenses could be slightly different. Personal expenses, that's just general things that you may need to pay for over an academic year. Not everybody needs to spend $1,500. It's an allotment that we use, and it's factored into how we determine financial eligibility. So again, you're seeing the cost of attendance, the estimated additional costs, and the financial aid offer. As you can see on the financial aid offer, after federal loan and St. Ben's grade and academic achievement are applied, the total award is $39,500. It shows you what a remaining billable cost is. And then we offer all students $4,000 of a work award. We don't know if a student is going to be able to achieve $4,000 over an academic period. But if they wanted to do that, they'd need to be working about 10 to 12 hours a week for an academic year to achieve the $4,000. Again, it's a ceiling. It does not mean they need to earn that. We're going to have many students that might be involved in sports or other activities, and the $4,000 may not be feasible for them, and we realize that. If they can, though, and they are applying it towards the account, you can see the cost after student employment for this particular student could be somewhere around $22,500. Stuart, if you want to go to the next page, we can show a breakdown of the award in a little bit more detail. So on the back of the award notification, you're going to see the cost for St. Ben's and St. John's. You're going to see the fees, which are slightly different at both schools, and the housing and meal plans that are slightly different. Overall, though, it's really only about a $30 difference between St. Ben's and St. John's for an academic year. This is where you have the opportunity to put the total costs on here, how much financial aid your student is receiving. Will they be getting assistance from the parents? Are they going to have a job over the summer? Are they going to be getting any outside scholarships that can lower that dollar amount? So this kind of worksheet kind of helps you identify how much more money you need to come up with as a family for the academic year. We do have Parent Plus loans and private educational loans that can be used to help make that difference, and also payment plans. So this is kind of going to help you out a little bit. So again, when you get the award notification, on the front is the actual award, on the back is this little worksheet. Stuart, do you want to add anything to this, or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll move on to Robert's going to talk a bit about the cost. Looking at fall semester individually.
Yeah. So the cost again. So you're seeing the tuition. So when you get that bill in the fall, you're going to see this tuition charge, and then the standard fees, the housing, and the meal plan. So what you're seeing per semester is a little over $33,000 per semester for a student. And that financial aid that we saw earlier is going to be broken down. So you're seeing that scholarship at $13,500, the federal loan. Now you're going to see a slight difference in the federal loan that's a little bit different than the award letter. The government has a small origination fee that they do take off the top. So what we are showing you is what will actually come in on that loan, not what is on the actual award letter. It's not too much off, but it is off a little bit, that sometimes there are questions as, why didn't I get exactly what it said on my award letter? Well, this is what will actually be applied once the student does the appropriate paperwork and the funds come in. So you can see the remaining amount of around $13,300 at either St. Ben's or St. John's for this particular student if they had this award. So that kind of gives you an idea as to what to expect. That first bill will come out in July. You have an opportunity then at that point to apply for additional loans if needed, or do a payment plan through our student accounts office, which they will do 4 payments in the fall, 4 payments in the spring, if that is a way that you would prefer to finance.
Yeah, as Robert said, there's a couple payment plan options that you'll receive information about from our student accounts office. So the student accounts office at St. Ben, St. John's, is the office that sends out the bills and collects the payments from families. We work pretty closely with them, but they are 2 separate functions completed by 2 different offices. The standard payment plan, simply you pay the amount due for each semester about a month before the semester starts. So for fall semester, the bills would go out mid-July with a mid-August due date. And then for spring semester, the bills go out in mid-November with a mid-December due date. So that would be the standard payment plan. Some families will choose to use a monthly payment plan, whereby they break down their payment for a semester into 4 installments. And for example, for fall semester, you'd make a payment by August 15th, September 15th, October 15th, and November 15th, and you would pay the full amount due over those 4 installed payments. There is a 1% finance charge with that monthly payment plan on whatever the outstanding balance is on around the 10th of each month. So Robert mentioned the 2 kind of financing options that are available to families. One being the Federal Plus loan, which is a loan in the parent's name. And the maximum you can borrow in the Plus loan is the cost of attendance we talked about earlier, minus financial aid. So that is a federal loan. The interest rate is set each year by Congress. We haven't found out what the rates will be for the 23-24 academic year yet. I think we typically learn those in spring or early summer. And as soon as we do, we'll post those to our website. But for the current year, that Plus loan was at 7.54. Private education loans, on the other hand, are in the student's name, and usually a parent then serves as a co-signer. These are loans that come from private lenders, and they are, again, as I said, they are in the student's name, but they can be used as a way to help cover the remaining costs that are not covered by financial aid. Information, as Robert may have indicated, but information about these programs will be sent to you, and you can find them on our website as well. All right, a little bit about some of the common questions we get at this time of year and moving forward, even into summer. You know, a lot of families will ask about student employment and how it works. Robert has given you a little bit of information about that, but just a reminder, we will send out some instructions to students who enroll about how to find a job on campus. That email typically goes out in early or mid-June. So we give first-year students, incoming first-year students, the summer months to apply for and be offered jobs on campus. I usually encourage students to apply for several jobs, 5, 6, 7 jobs, follow up with the supervisors that are doing the hiring, and then you'll end up just accepting generally 1 job that you would work your 10 to 12 hours a week at. Some students will end up with 2 different jobs. Maybe they'll work 5 to 6 hours in one department, 5 to 6 in another department, and that's perfectly fine. The earnings from those jobs are applied to your tuition bill, or they can be deposited into a checking or savings account. There are timesheets that have to be submitted, though, in order to be paid. It's just like a real job. So that those earnings, again, accumulate over the course of the year. A lot of students will bring in outside scholarships that they've won from maybe their high school or organizations in their community. We get a lot of questions about these as well. We've listed some websites here where you can check on outside scholarship resources. Check also with your high school guidance office. They typically have the most information about organizations in your community that offer these types of scholarships. And then the FAFSA does have to be filed each year to be considered for need-based aid. And need-based aid would be like those things we talked about earlier, St. Ben's or St. John's grant. federal Pell Grant, federal direct loans. All those are considered need-based aid and do require the FAFSA to be considered each year. Merit scholarships, on the other hand, are going to be renewed automatically. The merit scholarship would be that academic achievement scholarship, or if you win a fine arts scholarship or anything that's kind of meritorious like that, those are generally going to be rolled over automatically year to year.
As you can kind of see by this slide, one of the questions that will pop up from year to year is, does your tuition stay the same, or what is the normal trend at St. Ben's and St. John's? Traditionally, our tuition increases around 3% per academic year. Food and housing around 2%. So again, that kind of gives you an idea based on the financial aid that you're getting, that again, the cost will increase over the time of 4 years, but your award may not. So you need to be aware of that. Some of the federal loan programs, though, do increase as a student does move from class to class. Freshmen are only eligible for $5,500 in a federal loan, sophomores $6,500, juniors and seniors $7,500. So with some of that increase, you can pick up more additional loan monies. One of the things that is something that we are very proud of at St. Ben's and St. John's is that our graduation rate is at least 75%. And again, that is a good question to ask at other schools to see what's the percentage of students that graduate within a 4-year time frame. Because of how we are set up, a lot of our students take 16 credits per semester. They are on pretty much as long as they are completing that, they, for the most part, are going to graduate in 4 years. It does give you some flexibility where every once in a while you could take 12 a semester, which is still full time, and still graduate within 4 years. So it is something that we are very proud of at St. Ben's and St. John's. Along with the financial aid award notification, a personalized financial aid video will be emailed to the student and parent sometime a few weeks after the award notification has been sent out. For students that have already received awards, that will be forthcoming. We have not sent any videos as of yet, but they will be coming, and we'll go into a little bit more explanation on the full financial aid award, which will include the merit aid, any work study and student loan information. So it will give you kind of a really good information about the overall award as well. One thing that we also want to bring up is if you've already gotten your financial aid award, you've made your decision and you know you want to attend St. Ben's or St. John's, and you want to submit that tuition deposit. This is the website that you can go to where you can go and take care of that. Anything more to add on that, Stuart?
I think the personalized financial aid videos, I believe we might be texting links out to those as opposed to email, but yeah, keep an eye on your email and text, your phone. Obviously, we're gonna wrap up the video production, hopefully in the not too distant future, and get those rolling out on a weekly basis.
Okay. Special circumstances. So we have a number of families that when you do the FAFSA, it's based on, for this current year, it's based on the 2021 tax information. We are now in, obviously, 2023. So it's one of those things where if the family is experiencing things that are occurring now that it didn't in the 21 year, you have an opportunity to provide additional information to us so we can relook at your information and maybe make an adjustment with additional St. Ben's or St. John's money. In some cases, it may give a student the federal Pell Grant or the Minnesota State Grant. Some of the things that we look at for special circumstance are probably the main things that people will submit for is loss of income, high medical or dental, and parochial school tuition. And that would be the amount of tuition you would be paying for this upcoming school year when your son or daughter is attending St. Ben's or St. John's. any other students that you would still have in grade school or high school, for those students, you would not be including your son or daughter who would be attending St. Ben's and St. John's in the fall. It would be for other students. The form goes into a lot of detail as to what kind of information that you would need to provide to us. Usually within 1 to 2 weeks from the time that we receive the information, one of our staff members at either St. Ben's or St. John's is going to review that, and then they will send notification out either in the form of a revised award notification or an email to the parent, basically saying that, look for this information, we've made an adjustment based on your data. Special circumstances is only between the school and you. So if you are doing a special circumstance for us, but you're also doing it for another school, they can't see the information that you provided and vice versa. So a special circumstance based on the information they're providing, that you're providing to us, and the outcome could be slightly different at another school depending on how they do the calculation. So just be aware of that. Just because you're doing a special circumstance and you've listed other schools, it doesn't mean all those other schools are going to get that. This is something that you would have to do one-on-one with each of the schools that you are considering. Again, this is the website is listed there as well as to where you can get that information. And when you're in that site, you're also going to see a secure upload where you can send that information to us, because some of the information we may require could be sensitive. It could be tax return information or some of your medical or dental information. But again, if you have specific questions on special circumstances, sure to reach out to the St. Ben's or the St. John's financial aid offices, and we can walk you through that process if you have additional questions.
Thanks, Robert. The only thing I think Robert mentioned this, but you can do ideally we'd have your special circumstances when we do your initial award. But if you have received your award letter and realized, hey, you know what, I did have a change in income, or I have parochial tuition for my younger children, you can submit that after the award's been done, and we would review it. So that wraps up the information that I think we wanted to share today on interpreting and reviewing your award letter. As Robert made mention of, we do take appointments, we take phone calls, we're doing a lot of Zoom meetings nowadays. That's just real convenient. So as you come up with questions, or after you deposit and decide you're coming, if you want to talk more about financing that remaining balance, again, those are the types of conversations we're having right now with families pretty regularly, and want to help you through that process as well.
We do have 2 offices too, just so you're aware. There is a St. Ben's office actually at St. Ben's, and the St. John's office is in the Quad. So if you have specific questions for a Johnny, you would contact our office at St. John's, and for a Benny, the St. Ben's office. And you can see the contact information that's listed on the screen as well.
So we appreciate your attendance today and look forward to working with you as you move along in your college process. Have a good day, everybody.